Attention everyone, welcome to the War Room. One of the more important modules in the entire program, the one that we do the planning for the battle. Without effective planning, you're sure to lose. And in this module, we'll give you the actual tactics on how to discover your market and ultimately create a message that cuts through all the noise people hear online every single day and just rips them out of their normal pattern and creates physical pain for them to not click on your marketing. So before we get into this, the best way to go about doing an effective market strategy is to become genuinely interested in the market. You really got to figure out, hey, what is this? What is the flavor of this market? What makes it tick? What is unique that I can use in battle online to create a message that will rip out the people who I want to speak with, and at the same time it'll repel everyone who I don't want going through my funnel. So ultimately we call this our pocket angle. So the first step is to discover the pocket angle. Now the pocket angle is a unique message that's specific to your target audience. It does two things at once. It calls people out who you want to talk to and repels anyone who you don't want to talk to. So that's the simultaneous action. That's how you know you have a good pocket angle, when it can attract your ideal audience and repel anyone who isn't your ideal audience in one fell swoop. Okay? Like I said here, pocket angle cuts through all the online noise and grabs the attention of your ideal prospect. Now, a good pocket angle can make you millions. It ultimately becomes what I call an evergreen advertisement. An evergreen advertisement is one that can run for weeks and months and even years without any adjustment. I have evergreen ads that have been live and have been making me millions since 2018. So grab a coffee, cozy up, because you want to sharpen your axe here. So to get started, first, let's discuss the market. The trick to being an effective market discovery is to become genuinely curious about it. What makes it tick? What's its flavor? And instead of just talking about strategies and methods and opaque, things that don't really give you the way to do this stuff, we're going to give you some tactical questions so that you can suss out the information that we're after, okay? So first, let's start with the visuals of your marketing, okay? Now, visuals are the most important part of your marketing. It is the first thing the human eyeball sees, okay? You have to stop the scroll with this image or video. So how do we do that? Well, we got to ask ourselves, what would someone from here instantly recognize that someone who isn't from around here wouldn't recognize? Are there local monuments? Are there local celebrities, sports stars, well-known parks, streets, bridges, or signs? If there are things that exist in your market that someone would say, hey, that's me, that's where I'm from, bingo, that is a pocket angle potential, okay? So you want to make a list of those things. And ultimately, you want to go to those places, if possible, and create your own images, create your own videos, like stand in front of these things and make your creative happen, okay? Because that's going to accomplish everything that we've talked about in this module so far, just by effectively identifying one of these local, unique elements in your market. The more recognizable the monument or street or celebrity or sports or any of these things, the better the pocket angle overall. So think hard about what you can create there. Now, step number 2, we must find the actual pocket. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, we have to really uncover the story of your product in this market, right? If it's solar, if it's roofing, if it's pest control, if it's security sales, I mean, we really want to find something that's uniquely interested to the homeowners in your area, right? To the prospects in your area. Are there local rebates for it? Are there tax credits? Are there friendly property codes, like same-day permits, things like that? Do you have an advantageous net metering program? Like, what is the thing that makes it good for them to go with your product in their market? Ultimately, you're trying to find something that most people don't know about, something that you can uncover for them, and this is ultimately going to create your pocket angle. So the magic to all of this lies in your ability to uncover the hidden gems. I mean, you could not be good at anything else. You don't have to be good at speaking or writing or ultimately selling. If you create this pocket angle effectively, then all the downstream stuff becomes easier because this does all the heavy lifting, right? So I'm going to give you some examples just to kind of jog your brain and kind of give you an idea of how you should be thinking about discovering these angles, right? So an example, in New Hampshire, where I'm from, where I started solar power all the way back in 2014, the state passed a law that allowed group net metering. Now, this is pretty badass, okay? Group net metering means you can overproduce at one meter, and you can give the credits to any other meter on that utility company's system. And I think it may have to be in the same state as well. I could be wrong about that. I'm sure it is. But in other words, you could pay for your mom's electricity bills across the state as long as she had the same meter as you with your ground mount. So it's kind of cool to think about the possibilities for businesses, right? Businesses with multiple locations, businesses that have solar exposure. Okay. Maybe it's a self-storage facility, all that roof space. I mean, I've done several self-storage facilities in my career, and they're always a home run. So just imagine all the juicy angles that you can come up with just using that one fact about group net metering. Like, that's the potential. And then another example, the Woodlands Township is just north of Houston. It's actually its own little authority having jurisdiction. It's kind of cool. They have their own like entryway. It's a master plan community, just like all major communities in Texas, or Houston anyway. I don't know what the rest of Texas is, but I lived in Houston for 7 years, and every neighborhood is like its own little Harry Potter house, like the House of Slytherin, like I live in the Woodlands, and there's usually this big grandiose thing where all the businesses are Woodlands businesses. The neighborhood has its own high school, its own junior high, its own school system. Essentially, it's got its own grocery stores. I mean, you name it. It's like its own little city. They call it a master plan community, right? So anyway, in 2016, this little town said, hey, you know what? Ooh, energy bills are going up. Let's help our residents reduce this. And we're just going to go ahead, seeing how the state of Texas already makes us say yes to solar power installation in terms of HOA applications and permits. Let's just go ahead and create our own and say, hey, you know what? We're going to guarantee the approval of all qualifying solar applications. And that's what they did. Okay. And that was back in 2016. So a good marketer, a good salesperson, that's all you need. That's it. Okay. That's a unique angle. And all you got to do is pair it with a relevant image and or video, and you got a winning potential anyway to be a pocket angle. Now, another example would be New York has a 5K state income tax rebate. South Carolina has a 25% income rebate on solar. So that's like 50% off your damn system in South Carolina. Encore, okay, this is different. They allow, or used to allow anyway, this could not be the case anymore. All you installers, don't take me verbatim. They allowed same day turn-ons. Okay, so like you're installed. No, you don't even have to have it inspected. You could turn the thing on, which makes everyone happy, especially the homeowner who's already paying for the loan because whatever, the permit took forever to get approved, right? So any one of these can be used as fuel for the war machine. Now the war machine is our battle marketing. Okay, it's the thing that we're going to leverage to make ourselves free. That's really what we're here to do, is become free. Okay. We got to use these golden nuggets as a differentiated value. We got to put variables in, and we got to use the proven and predefined direct marketing structure. Okay. So that's the second half of this. The next module, we'll get into that piece of it. How do you actually take this pocket angle and then construct it in a direct marketing framework that will actually convince someone to make something happen? It'll convince someone to take action. It'll change their mind. It'll get them to the next step. Okay. There's very specific things that you have to have in your message, or else you're just sacrificing a huge percentage of potential conversion. So the way to do that is to ask yourself a few questions. Number one, if your program or your product or your service is subject to any rebates or incentives, like even insulation, There's a federal, right, $500 tax credit or whatnot. Just discover those things and use those as part of your pocket angle. So the way I think about this and go about it is I ask myself, okay, who does the permits? What's the name of their office? What do they look for in a permit? What would DQ a permit? Okay, just those things. You can make an angle about what homeowners would get declined 100% of the time for with solar power. Like how I could even flip this and do the anti-solar ad, right? And I could say, the Woodlands Township just passed a law that will deny 100% of the solar systems that do this one thing. Okay. And then the one thing could be, don't install over the fence line of your neighbor, or, you know what I mean? Like it can't be visible at a certain height for the same reason with fences. And these things can be turned into angles, as you can tell, using direct marketing structure. Okay. Basically, variables go into the control, just like a scientific experiment, like the direct marketing structure, which I will teach you in depth and you will be better at than 99% of marketing companies out there, just from taking the rep cheat code. You can just input different variables at any given time and use the same structure to create the same results in different areas. What utility company interconnects with the system? What does their net metering look like? Obviously an easy one for solar power. What utility or power broker provides the net metering or any other financial incentives? I think you kind of get where I'm going, right? Like we got to dig into the infrastructure. Like what is it? If I want to get my roof replaced, what do I have to do with the local area? Do I have to go get a permit? Do I have to tell anyone? Do I have to report it to my insurance company? Do I have to, what are the steps? So that this isn't saying like every step is going to be an opportunity here to create marketing angle, but I'm just saying this is how you want to start thinking about your investigation process to discover the pocket angle. Okay. So this number 4 is just basically reiterating what I've already said. You want to, the goal of the ad, if you had to say it's the goal, it would be to basically shout out at someone and say, this thing is for you and only you, and this is why you need to do it. And there's a scarcity piece of it. So make sure you click this button below. Okay. Now, I do like to work in examples in this program because it's just the quickest way for me to convey ultimately like the potential of what I'm trying to teach you in this module is to give you examples. Now, this is one that will be proliferated throughout other areas of my program because I can't think of a better way to coach you on what you can do to change your life. And this example here is one of the best ones I've ever done. So I just use it as an example everywhere. Okay. So I lived in Houston for 7 years. Just north of Houston, like we talked about, it's a town called the Woodlands. They have their own permitting process. It's like a little government. Okay. And yes, by the name, you can tell the town has a lot of trees. And in many cases, we weren't allowed to cut them. And that is tough. But I didn't shy away from the area because there's very, very rich people who live in the Woodlands. And I wanted to make sure that I was, selling to people who could buy what I was selling, which is solar power at the time. So this town, in 2016, this is all true. You can fact check me. At a town board meeting, they're like, let's not even waste our system resources on solar applications for the HOA in the building. Let's just blanket approve all of them because, gosh darn it, the state of Texas, it approves the same thing. Like literally, if you look it up, the state of Texas prevents any HOA, any AHJ from denying the installation of solar power. Okay, so they got to say yes, and they just figured, let's just let's be more efficient. Let's not waste our taxpayers' money, right? Let's just get these things done quickly. And ultimately, energy rates in Texas were on the rise. Ultimately, from 2016, I moved there. It was like 8 cents or 7 cents. I would walk into people's homes and they'd be giving me their power bill because I didn't know how to sell solar power that well at the time. So I'd wait to get the power bill all the way till I got to the home. Okay. And I'd be blindsided by like a 6.5 cent power rate. And I was like, yeah. But they'd still buy, which is interesting. People buy solar for different reasons. They will buy to be someone who went solar. That's why they buy ultimately. Okay. I had a client in New Hampshire, one of my first sales. He was a doctor in Bedford, New Hampshire, which is also a very ritzy area. North-facing roof on the front of his house, which also faced the street. He demanded that we put 50% of the system on the north-facing house, despite my best advice not to, because he wanted what? He wanted his neighbors to see. Okay? People invest in becoming who they want to become. So the solar power can be one of them. So anyway, this permit approval process that they approved was all I needed. And I created one of the best converting solar funnels that I've ever done. And I think back and I realized, wow, that town really was awesome. I mean, you need some things for this to work really well. One of them is the image. I mean, look at that. That's what you see when you drive home every day, okay? So I'm using that image as my creative. Like the first thing people see is that, and it stops them in their tracks, okay? And later in this program, I'm going to recreate this exact same campaign so that you can use the structure and just swap out the variables like the location and the image in that, you're cutting through a lot of, you're getting my 10,000 hours with that, right? I've done this for several people, not really for companies. When we got into the done for you business, it's hard to do this stuff. Like break it down because I have to like travel to the place and get the local images and videos. And so anyway, it becomes more of a blanketed type of advertisement that you see on Facebook these days, right? Solar power saves money, net metering programs, this type of thing. It's not calling out someone who lives in a neighborhood, right? That's what this program will teach you how to do. And you can incrementally expand your area, and I'll show you how to do that and not lose this intimate marketing strategy. So I just wrote a story about what the town had done, okay? And I wrote that it was an urgent meeting to pass a law that would immediately approve all qualifying rooftop solar applications. And it was in an effort to combat the rising costs of electricity rates, right? And it worked like a charm. It produced hundreds of leads, in the first 30 days. And in 2016, this single ad brought in 20 plus sales per month. I was working for a company called Sweetwater Energy Services. They're still in business. And it was awesome. The owner was like thrilled with me. So this is where I started to become leveraged, right? This is where I began to elevate myself out of the front lines of selling face-to-face. This is like, you create leverage for yourself in the business that you work for first. That's typically how you become a freedom fighter, and you own your own business, and you start by running someone else's business, and you get really good at that, okay? And you see everything that you would do differently, and then you make sure that you do that differently when you start your own company, okay? So that's basically one of the best examples I can give you of a pocket angle. So again, don't rush this. Take your time on this, okay? The second part of discovering your pocket angle is really, if you haven't done this already, you have to define your company's differentiated value. Now, what is a differentiated value? Well, it's something that someone gets with you that they can't get with anyone else. That's the best way to think about it, okay? Anything can be a differentiated value, but you want to go for the biggest ones first, ultimately, because those are going to be bigger fulcrum and lever types of motivations, right? So do you have the best warranties? Do you have the exclusive lease option in the area? Do you use better panels? Like, can they only get the panels with you? Any additional services? Like, do you have a maintenance package that maybe you check on the system once every 24 months, and that becomes a unique differentiated value for your company? In fact, I'll link a link below this video to a company called the Lifetime Warranty Company. This is a very unique company that you could add to your install. You have to be an installer because you actually produce a lifetime warranty on the full roof with the system. It's for 5 cents per watt instead of, the 10 or 12, whatever Solar Insure. So you actually get to give a better warranty that pays you more. It's a huge, unique differentiator in the market, which is why I would do it. So I'll link that below. And that brings me to the conclusion of the War Room, everyone. Now listen, this is the way you begin to think about being successful, okay? You really need to cut through all the noise online. People are inundated with some number of thousands of ads per day, and you have to get your message through that person. And the only way to do that is to use things that concretely call out to them, that they can recognize in an instant. It's like subconscious almost. So I hope you enjoyed this module, and in the next module we'll show you how to take all these variables that you are discovering now and compile them and structure them and position them for attack in a direct marketing framework, because the advertising strategies that worked 50 years ago for David Ogilvy still work today. Okay, so you will be better than most marketers in the world once you complete this program and implement the strategy. And I will see you on the next training.